guys haven't been in pads since the last game of last season. So something we were very excited about, and I know the coaches were fired up about it. It's always like going to the first day of class. So guys were amped up in the locker room about it.
Welcome to Giants Training Camp Report presented by Investors Bank. Coming up on the show, we'll hear from some of the assistant coaches on this year's Giants staff. We'll get a behind-the-scenes look at Giants Media Day and much, much more. But I'm Madelyn Burke, joined by Super Bowl champion Shaun O'Hara. And Shaun, we finally got the first look of players in pads this week. What are your early impressions?
Yeah, Madelyn, it looked like football, and today it sounded like football. The pads coming on definitely made the players happy, the coaches happy. You do different drills when you're wearing pads, so that definitely helps out. But it starts to feel more like football when you can kind of lean on people and start to have the contact. So I know that always signals this is the start of training camp when the shoulder pads come on, because it means you're going to start banging, you're going to start being a little bit sore. But this is kind of where you can make the team, and this is where you can make your team a lot better.
And you mentioned it looks a little bit more like football when the pads come on, especially for guys like you, a former center. The linemen really kind of see a difference when the pads are on. Earlier this week, you saw some of those drills. How much does it impact what the linemen are able to do in practice right now?
Yeah, no doubt. It's hard to evaluate offensive and defensive linemen when they don't have pads on, because you're not leaning against people. You're not pushing against people. So when the pads come on, that's when the push comes. That's when the hand battles start. I think also the combination blocks between not just offensive linemen, but offensive linemen and tight ends. That becomes a big part of the evaluation process. Your running game, it's hard to evaluate that when you're not in pads, because you're not seeing the push. You can't really get hip to hip. And then defensively, it's hard to evaluate whether a defensive guy can get off a block if you're not in pads and you're fully engaged, and that's a defensive lineman or a linebacker. So it definitely changes the scope of practice. Plus, I think it adds to the energy. When you get pads on, okay, listen, you're going to get popped as a running back. It's not live and you're not getting tackled, but now you better hold on to that football, because they're going to swipe at it a little bit harder. If you're a receiver, there's going to be more contact after you catch the football. So it definitely cranks everything up, cranks the intensity up, but also cranks that excitement up.
Well, the energy has definitely been increased out there, but as you mentioned, Shaun, the evaluation is a little bit different when the pads come on. We heard from some of the defensive assistants earlier this week. Check out the sounds of the week.
There's got to be an element of toughness, and then how are we going to measure toughness? There's mental toughness, we know that, and the physical toughness.
I'm coming hard every day, so I have to coach like that. When I leave the practice field, I got to be completely sweaty. I didn't do a good job.
Work low, patient.
All those corners are competing. That's just the way it is, in this program. Nobody is given anything. Even Bradbury's got to go out and compete.
I just try to be the best I can every day. How I can help our staff, how I can help my players. We always talk about OLB DNA, what we are, what we represent, when we're there, when we're not there. It's just kind of guys that show up to work every day, got a blue-collar mentality.
Like all the guys, they've done a really good job of coming in and working and kind of understanding what it is that Coach Joe set down as a foundation of attention to detail, situational awareness.
There you go. Those guys know about my energy, and they've got the experience a little bit. I told them today that that wasn't a one-time thing yesterday, that it's going to be like that every day, but it's the way you bring it.
All right, Shaun, we heard from some of the defensive assistant coaches. New defense, new coaching staff. How do you think the players are going to adapt to this new scheme?
Well, no doubt it's all about the scheme. It's also about the culture that they're trying to bring to this defense. What do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known for a team that's going to be stout up front and not give up big plays? Or are you all about creating the turnover? So that identity is going to be big. And anytime you're implementing a new scheme, a new defense, new coaches, you're going to lean on the veterans. So a guy like James Bradbury is a huge addition to this defense. I think when you look at his production down in Carolina, look, he was a travel corner, right? Down in the NFC South, he went against some of the best receivers in the NFL, and he traveled with them. He did not shy away from it, and yet he never came off the field. So a veteran guy like that is going to be big for them. I think when you look at guys like Blake Martinez, who have played a lot of football, he's going to basically be the eyes and ears of that defense and getting everybody lined up. So guys like that are the veteran players that these coaches are going to lean on to try to instill not just the concepts, but the culture and the type of defense that we're going to be.
And as the coaches kind of lean on these veteran players to help this process, some of these young guys too coming into a new season, a new system. Who are some of the young guys that you've got your eye on?
Well, certainly there's a lot of new corners, a lot of young guys in the secondary, but up front, Shaun is really one guy that I'm keeping my eye on, because I think that he's going to be a big part of this pass rush on third down. But I also think he's going to be an explosive player that on first and second down in the 3-4 scheme, when they are using that personnel, he's somebody that could be a very big mismatch. Lorenzo Carter on the other side is the big long-armed guy, and he may be more of a Sam linebacker, but I feel like Jimenez has a lot of athletic ability. He's very explosive. I think looking at him in practice already, it looks like he's using his hands so much better this year already. So up front, that's where it always starts defensively. We already know the Giants have a bunch of big stout guys in the middle with Dexter Lawrence and with B.J. Hill and with Dalvin Tomlinson. So those guys are going to do all the heavy lifting. But Jimenez on the outside, on the opposite side of Marcus Golden, he should have a big year.
And you mentioned Jimenez using his hands more. I mean, last year that was one of the things that coaches praised him for, was his active hands. So leveling up in that category has got to be a good thing for this Giants defense. All right, coming up on the show, we heard from the defensive assistants. We will hear from the offensive coaching assistants after the break. Stay with us. We've got a lot more coming up on Giants Training Camp Report presented by Investors Bank. Introducing the official Giants checking account only from Investors Bank. Get the checking account that lets you score big. And Giants Training Camp Report is driven by the Hess Toy Truck. The 2020 Hess Minis and first ever plush toy truck are available now, with the 2020 Holiday Hess Toy Truck coming November 2nd, all exclusively at HessToyTruck.com.
It's awesome having somebody that's actually been there, done that, 10 plus years playing. So he definitely has a lot of, inside information, as a player himself, that, he can pass on to us. And, as far as, being there with us, he's one of us. He's one of the guys, of course, you separate the title, when he's coach, you have that respect line. But it's cool having, somebody that, is very similar to everybody in that room and kind of gets it.
Welcome back to Giants Training Camp Report presented by Investors Bank. That was Giants offensive guard Will Hernandez talking about offensive line coach Mark Colombo. Now we'll hear from Mark Colombo and other offensive assistants in this Sounds of the Week.
I really think it's one of the hardest positions in all of sports is to play quarterback. No matter what team you're on or what system you're working in, you're putting a lot on the quarterback. I'm pretty excited about the ones we have. That group is working, they're working really hard, and they're buying into everything we're trying to tell them, and Daniel's no different. He's a great worker, and I think he's on the right track in terms of his preparation.
I love teaching. I love teaching guys. There's no better feeling in the world of teaching somebody something, watching them have success with it, and see the look on their face. And coaching nearly all the positions in the past certainly benefits me from the standpoint of knowing what the other positions are thinking and doing.
But Darius it's year two, obviously, and it's game experience. He did get some game experience in NFL last year. At this point in time last year, he hadn't played an NFL snap. So now he has some game experience, and he can go out there and he knows the speed of the game and how the defensive backs play in the NFL.
So the one ingredient in a really good running back, as well as a good football player, is that desire to continue to get better. By nature, they're very competitive. They want to be better than everybody thinks they are, So they're willing to put the extra time in, both physically and mentally, to try different things. They always want to, all right, how can I do this better? And I think that's been a common theme in all those guys.
I think relating to offensive linemen, that can happen because, I played in the NFL for a while, and I think these guys respect that and respect the fact that I've done it, I've seen it, and it's really a great group of guys. It's a work ethic, and it's a nasty attitude going out there and just kind of imposing our will on the defense. Everything else, the technique, assignments, stuff like that, we can get that stuff corrected, but the effort, again, non-negotiable.
I mean, Mark Colombo there, Shaun, saying, I've done it, I've seen it. How beneficial is it, especially at the offensive line, to have a coach that's not far removed from his playing days at the NFL level?
No doubt, it's huge for the players in that locker room and players in the O-line room to see a guy like Mark Colombo, because he's not just a guy that's going to bring his vocal leadership to the group, but he's also getting his hands dirty. You could see him on the practice field. He's putting his hands on guys. He's getting in the drills. He can still move around a little bit, and he still wants to hit somebody. So that passion, you could see it. I think the biggest thing with Mark Colombo, and you heard him talk about it, it's non-negotiable. This is the way we're going to do things. And they're setting a new standard, not just for the offensive line play, but for the entire team. And I think that's contagious. It's big. You hear Will Hernandez talking about how excited he is to learn from Mark Colombo. Well, guess what? He's also going to have to teach somebody, because now he's going to be working with a young pup in Andrew Thomas, the 4th overall selection. So anytime you have to teach a young player, you learn a little bit more yourself. So there's some veteran guys in that group, Kevin Zeitler, Cam Fleming, even Spencer Pulley. I think that whole group is really they're just going to absorb and be like sponges with Mark Colombo. The technique is something that he knows a lot about, and he's going to certainly help them with that. But the mindset and the nastiness, the toughness, that's something that starts with the online coach and trickles out throughout the whole group.
And that's something that is non-negotiable, as we heard Colombo mention. I mean, looking at this coaching staff, we heard from some of the offensive assistants there, but we've also got Jason Garrett on the offensive coaching staff. How stacked is this coaching staff?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the pedigree and look at what they were doing last year. Jason Garrett was the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, also helping out with the offense. And then you look at Freddie Kitchen. He was the head coach and offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. Now he's with the tight end. So you have a lot of really good creativity, a lot of coaching experience with different personnel. So I'm excited to see how this offense attacks defenses. Jason Garrett, when you look at the run game and what he's done in his time with Dallas, whether it was DeMarco Murray, whether it was Ezekiel Elliott, they always had a very aggressive, very physical running attack, which helped the offensive explosive ability, the big plays down the field. So that's going to be huge. And Freddie Kitchens is a former quarterback himself. So to have Freddie, to have Jason Garrett, all grooming Daniel Jones and these young quarterbacks, it's great to have that tutelage and to have those experienced voices to kind of lean on.
And we heard Freddie Kitchens, too, earlier just saying, I love teaching. Teaching, of course, was an important point Joe Judge made in hiring his coaching staff. But when you look at this, new offense, new offensive scheme, what can some of these coaches bring to the young players in this group?
Well, I think with the young players, they're trying to understand the concepts. And so I think for, anytime you're introducing offenses to young players, you want to make it simple and you want to let them learn it so they can play at full speed. And that's always the challenge. Anytime you're teaching somebody about concepts of plays, here's why we're doing it. Once you understand why, now you can do it faster and you're not thinking about it. But anytime you get young, talented players, you want to find ways to get them the football and certainly do that in space. I think they're going to have no problem doing that.
A young Giants team, but they're doing a lot out on the field. And we've got a lot more coming up here on the show for you. Coming up after the break, we'll take a look at behind the scenes at Giants Media Day. Stay with us here on Giants Training Camp Report, presented by Investors Bank. Giants Training Camp Report is driven by the Hess Toy Truck. The 2020 Hess Minis and first ever plush toy truck are available now, with the 2020 Holiday Hess Toy Truck coming November 2nd, all exclusively at HessToyTruck.com. Welcome back to Giants Training Camp Report, presented by Investors Bank. Before the Giants suited up to get on the practice field, they suited up for a little photo session, putting on their 2020 game jerseys for the very first time this year. Take a look as we go behind the scenes.
Today we got the Giants specialty shoot. It feels amazing to be back. One of the Giants are doing an amazing job of making sure that we follow in the procedures and try to keep everyone healthy and safe. We will be shooting some videos for you guys and getting some photos for you guys. Our first time back in the pads in a long time, so stay tuned, it should be fun.
For me, being able to put the uniform on, jersey on, everything, it's a special moment. It's obviously my first time. And it's a fun moment to get pictures done, act a little silly, but just do something kind of to be together as a team. Definitely tease each other and then see who could be the one to yell the loudest.
Let's go! Ah! Ah! Let's go!
Do you like the yelling?
It's kind of weird, to be honest.
like you're not yelling in front of fans or anything. So it's kind of weird.
If you're gonna do it, you gotta be enthusiastic with it. My man Blake over here is struggling. Come on, Blake.
Oh!
The Giants especially shoot, just being back with the guys, seeing them and not just seeing them on Zoom and actually interacting with them. It's always fun, get to bring out your personality, get to smile, get to act serious, have fun with the little gifts things, and show some entertainment for the fans.
Oh, we gotta see the hair long, bro. All right.
I said, I can get mine.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Had so much fun today. Like I said, always great putting the jersey and pad back on. And that's a wrap.
Shaun, who do you think has the loudest yell in that group?
I think Jabril Peppers was practicing during this quarantine period. He had quite the yell, but I'm a little disappointed. Not one offensive lineman. Where are the big fellas? We want to see how sweet we look in the big blue jerseys, too.
Got to show some love to the O-line right over here. I mean, hey, maybe next time. All right, coming up, we got a lot more coming up on the show. Stay with us here on Giants Training Camp Report presented by Investors Bank. Giants Training Camp Report is driven by the Hess Toy Truck. 2020 Hess Minis and first ever plush toy truck are available now, with the 2020 Holiday Hess Toy Truck coming November 2nd, all exclusively at HessToyTruck.com.
The way I feel I could be a better Saquon Barkley, I guess you could say, is by coming here every single day, coming to work and, try to continue to gain the respect of my teammates and continue to try to push myself and push my teammates, because at the end of the day, it's all about the team. And that's the mindset that we need to have to be able to go out there and have a successful season.
Welcome back to Giants Training Camp Report presented by Investors Bank. That was Giants' third-year running back, Saquon Barkley. Shaun, can you believe he's already in his third season in Big Blue?
Everything he does is fast.
Everything he does is fast. That time flies fast. And, he's been a leader on this team, even from his rookie year. We saw him very vocal on the sidelines in games, in practices. How have you seen that grow over the years?
Yeah, certainly we saw it last year. Even though he was banged up and battled some injuries, he started to get more vocal, especially once Daniel Jones was in there. And I think that's his way of saying, look, I'll take over that aspect of it. Daniel, you can just worry about playing quarterback. But look, he is the heart and soul of the offense. And I think for Saquon, he's not scared to work hard. And I think that work ethic is one way you become a leader, but also the explosive ability and what he brings to the offense. So it's been fun to watch Saquon play. I think it's great to see the type of player he is, the type of person he is off the field as well. So all of those things are what make a great leader. And I think for Saquon, he knows that this offense is going to run through him. And he knows that he's going to have some unbelievable opportunities out in space. He's going to have a great opportunity to touch the ball 25, maybe even 30 times a game in this offense. So he's got to physically be ready. But I think in year 3 as an NFL player, for me, the game started to slow down a little bit. And I think that's where we're going to see the best version of 26 this year.
Talk about how much it will benefit Saquon working with this new offensive line group.
The thing that comes to mind with this new offense and this new New York Giants team is accountability. And I think too many times we saw last year, Madelyn, Saquon having to dodge an unblocked defender. I think the accountability factor is going to change a lot of that. He's not going to have to feel like he's got to press. He's not going to feel like he has to make guys miss and make a huge play. He could just work within the offense and just handle the 4 to 6 yard runs, not feel like you have to make a highlight play every single time. I think that's going to pay off in the 10 to 12 play drive aspect of it. Not going to be, hey, look, we're trying to be this home run offense and make big splash plays every single time. So I think that accountability is going to make him a better player. It's going to make this team a better offense.
Well, and you talked about how hard he works as well. We saw several videos in the offseason about how hard he works out. Is it possible for this man to get any stronger?
Oh, yeah, he's going to try. He's always going to try to put another 45-pound plate, whether it's bench press, whether it's in the squat rack. He wants to improve, and I think that's a big part of why he's such a great teammate. He's always pushing everybody, pushing himself. But he's making the defense better too when he does that. And if you're a defensive guy and you're going against Saquon Barkley and you're seeing that speed, that acceleration, and that power, that's going to make you better when it comes game time. And now you're trying to take these angles. You're not going to worry about a running back in the league being faster than the one you go against every single day.
Well, we certainly have a lot to look forward to as Saquon Barkley and the New York Giants take the field for the regular season in just under a month. But we'll keep you updated with all the latest from training camp as that inches closer. For Shaun O'Hara, I'm Madelyn Burke. Thanks for stopping by and hanging with us on Giants Training Camp Report presented by Investors Bank. And for now, we'll leave you with a little bit of highlights of some of these players in pads.
Big pass, baby. All that cross country stuff over. We about to be hitting now. It's about damn time. Ready,
You over here. Stand that right arm, be ready,